Today we're going to do the flame test lab, and what we're going to do with the flame test lab is use the information that we obtain from our observations to identify elements based off of what colors they burn. So when we burn elements, what we're doing is we're exciting the electrons in the electron cloud or their orbitals and getting them to move from a higher energy, from a lower energy up to a higher energy. And then those electrons, whenever they release that energy to go back down to the ground state, they give off color. So we're going to use the flame test as a way to determine what the element is, because each element has its own flame test. And so we're going to test known samples of elements. We're going to test an unknown sample. The unknown is going to match one of these samples that we do know. And then at the very end of this activity, we're going to look at some applications of the flame test lab besides fireworks. Fireworks are the biggest application, but where else are you going to see the flame tests in use outside of school and things that you may have laying around your house or things that you've done before and see the science with them. So for us to do the flame test lab, we need a Bunsen burner. The reason why we need the Bunsen burner is because of how hot it is, and we need to be able to excite those electrons. So when we're heating these elements, we don't really want to see the flame. So I'm going to adjust the oxygen on the Bunsen burner so that I can't see the flame. I don't have the cleanest Bunsen burner. As you can see, there are some metals burning at the top of the flame. A perfect Bunsen burner would have nothing, no color to it. So what I'm working on here is removing any kind of color that we have with this flame so that it does not interfere with our results. So let's give it a quick swab real quick and see if we can get any kind of those chemicals knocked off. The reason why it's orange is because of the amount of oxygen that comes into these burners. I don't have the ability to cut off all of the oxygen, so we are going to have a little bit of this orange left over and go from there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take each of these Q-tips. I'm going to hold them at the very tip of the flame whenever they have the chemical. And we're going to observe the flame test above that flame. So I'm not looking at this lower region here for my flame test. I'm going to look at this upper region here. Part of the reason why I have this black box is to help you see the color of the flame test. Now, in your lab papers, you're going to record what colors you see. For those who may be colorblind, I'm going to verbally tell you what color I observe so that you can still record that information. The first substance that we're going to burn is called barium chloride. So I'm going to take the barium salt and burn it in the flame. It may take a minute for the color to come off because, again, it's going to take a little bit for those electrons to absorb that energy. And what I should see with barium is I should see a light green yellow flame appear. Now this is like the second time I've tried to make this video today, and I didn't have much luck with the barium the first time around, and it looks like I'm not having much luck with the second time around with the barium. So I will just tell you that barium makes a light green yellow flame. The second element we're going to test is calcium. So I'm going to get some calcium onto a new Q-tip and stick it into the flame. Wait for that calcium to heat up. Okay, I dropped some on the Bunsen burner on accident, but what color I am seeing is I'm seeing a dark red orange. And as I check my computer as I'm burning this, I see that your colors are not showing up very well. So what I'm going to do is in your lab paper is I'm going to include a visual of what color it is. So this is how we perform the lab and do the flame test portion of the lab. So I'm going to continue working through this. Again, I'm going to provide you the flames because I see that as I'm recording the video, it's not giving the best colors. The next metal we're going to test is copper. And hopefully you can kind of see at the tip of this flame The copper is on the inside, it is blue in color, and it is green on the outside. So copper is a green, or it is a blue, or a blue-green. This Bunsen burner just does not like me today, which is fine. The next element we're going to test is lithium. Not sure why I'm not getting the color for lithium. Okay. Maybe you can see it on the edge, but lithium is giving me this bright red color. It's very vibrant. If anything, if it's going to have another color in it, it is red violet. The next color is probably one of the hardest ones for students to identify, and that's potassium. So if I hold it off to the side, potassium has this pinkish color to it. It's kind of like a little faint pink, faint purple color. So that is the flame test for potassium. The next flame test I'm going to do is sodium, which is present in table salt. As you can notice, it's a bright yellow orange this time, so it's a little bit lighter than my normal flame. So it is a bright yellow orange for sodium. My next sample is strontium. This one is red, but it is not like the red of the lithium. The lithium was like a red-violet color. The strontium is kind of like a red-orange color. I would not compare this to the calcium orange because this one is definitely more reddish tinted than the calcium. So the strontium, I would say, has more red and orange present in it than the calcium. And now I'm going to give you the unknown. Again, you're going to look at the unknown and from there determine which of the samples we just tested is in the unknown. So in the unknown, I'm starting to see kind of violet red. So in your lab, you need to think about, for later when you're trying to answer the question of what does this contain, violet red is the observation that I have. So I want to think what element contains violet red that I tested before. So that is the flame test lab, and filling out that table is going to kind of essentially complete the lab process for the data collection. You'll have a couple of questions. But I want to show you some other applications when it comes to the flame test lab and where you may have seen those applications before. They sell these pine cones and they have chemical around them. So notice that this pine cone is not all the way brown, but it has kind of like this crystalline substance. So every once in a while, you may find that stores have these around the holiday season where you can throw these pine cones into your fireplace and they burn different colors. So I'm seeing that this pine cone is burning a blue color with some green coming off of it. So I would suspect that they have put inside of this pine cone something with copper because our copper test was blue and it gave us that green color as well. So by putting different chemicals, that's how you get your different fireplace colors. Other things that you can buy are these funky colored flames at a hardware store. So maybe you throw these into a fire pit and it makes your fire pit change colors. So inside here you've got different crystals so that you get different colors. So this would be the question of, well, what happens if you mix a couple of these chemicals together? Can you get blends of colors? And the answer is yes, you can get those blends of colors, and that's what these funky colored flames are that you can get at a hardware store. So if I put this in here, I see some of the green coming off, I see some of the pink and purple coming off, so I see some potassium in there, some copper, I do see some red. So the funky colored flames, that you would see at a hardware store that people like to throw into their fire pits. These are also containing the same types of salts for you to burn and essentially change the color of the flames. Last but not least, maybe if you've had a birthday that you've ever celebrated and you guys celebrated it in style, you can get these birthday candles and they burn different colors. So there is something special inside of each of these birthday candles to make them burn those different colors and make their flames different colors. So let's light these candles and kind of talk about what substances are present here. Okay, so for the purple candle, let me move my box here so you can kind of see the colors. Purple candle's kind of got the purple flame. I would assume that there's something like potassium inside of the purple candle. Inside of the blue and the green flames, I would assume that there's something with the copper in there. There are two forms of copper. There's copper 1 and copper 2, and they are slightly different whenever they have their different flame tests. The yellow candle is burning orange. I would assume that there is something like sodium inside of there, maybe calcium, because calcium does burn orange. But to get that yellow-orange, sodium is much better for that color. And then in the pink and the red, they both look the same to me, but they look like that red-violet color. So I would say for the pink and the red, these likely have lithium in them. It's possible they could have strontium, but they likely have lithium. So here are some applications of the Flame Test Lab, some things that maybe you've seen in the real life, and I hope that you really enjoyed looking at the chemistry of these.